Um, we're going to do a class on the deeper meaning of this week's Torah portion, Vayishlach, which is speaking Shlach. This is talking about the spies that Moses sent, or the scouts, whatever you'd like to call them, to tour the land of Israel. And we know that this story unfortunately didn't end well. But there is obviously a deeper meaning in Torah to what this story is coming to teach us. So there's a teaching from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he says on this week's Haftarah, we speak about Joshua sending two spies. Joshua sent two spies. He only sent them to one place, to Jericho. Moses, on the other hand, sends 12 spies. He sends them, and they went all across the land of Israel. So these are two major differences between the spies that Moses sent and Joshua sent. Also, the spies that Moses sent, it wasn't really from Hashem. This was something that Moses did on his own initiative, trying to satisfy the nation and show them that he didn't mind sending spies and scouts to see the land, and that he knew it would go well. The spies that Joshua sent was actually from a commandment from Hashem. So, like we said, that Joshua sent spies to Jericho. Why? Only to Jericho. Jericho is considered the lock of the land of Israel. You get in there, you're in. And this had to do with them being imminently about to enter the land of Israel, or Canaan at the time. So the real explanation behind this whole idea of the spies and why Moses and Joshua sent spies is that the land of Israel and the conquering of the land of Israel, so to speak, on a spiritual level, is an eternal thing. We always have this aspect of Israel which is related to us in our lives. Every single one of us needs to try to, so to speak, conquer, subjugate our powers, our physical things in our life, our physical desires, of, so to speak, our bodily desires. These are called, in a sense, Eretz Canaan. And what do? We make these things and these powers, we make them into vessels, which are vessels of godliness, which is, so to speak, the land of Israel. We do this in our life. We can conquer ourselves to become holy land, so to speak. What is then the difference between Jericho to the rest of Israel in our soul? When we say Jericho, it's Yericho in Hebrew. These are three garments of thought, speech, and action. Jericho in Hebrew is from the word reach, which is like scent, which is an external thing, which is connected to garments, just like garments have a scent. And what is, so to speak, the garments of our soul, of our being? The garments of our soul is our thought, speech, and action. Because thought, speech, and action speech and action for sure can be removed. Someone could choose to speak differently or do things differently. And thought, even though thought is continual, thought can be changed just like you can change a garment. And Israel, the power, what's Israel? Jericho, we said, is just thought, speech, and action. That's Jericho, one part of Israel. The whole part of Israel is the emotional powers that we have. That we said we have 7 emotional powers, starting with kindness, which is our motivation to do things what we like. Then we have the power of justice, like where do we need justice, where do we need law in our own life or in the world, where do we see that? It's a different power because it's things that is against what we like, so to speak. The beauty is the next one, it's mercy, and it's combining this justice and kindness. The next one is the victory. After victory, comes the ability to withhold things that are trying to take you away from that victory. After that comes connection, the deep connection that we make to people, things we're doing. Though obviously we've gone through the whole process of emotion, so we've come down to what are we connecting to most emotionally. And then we have the emotion of doing and being and speaking, which is it's the emotional part of us which is connected to those things. And that's kingship, the crown. And the commandment of Joshua from Hashem was to send the scouts to the set, to the garments, to the thought, speech, and action that's inside of us. This is to us, so to speak, that we have the power to send scouts into ourselves and see how are we doing. We examine our thoughts and what we're speaking and our deeds and try to elevate our thought, speech, and action to Hashem, to God. That's easier with garments than doing with the emotions, the things we like and the things that we don't like that we spoke about before. Because it's not so easy to really take control, so to speak, of our emotions. Because only really truly elevated people have that ability to elevate their emotions and go higher and higher in their emotions at such an easy way, so to speak. So Moses sent these spies, so to speak, to seek out all of the emotions, the whole entire land, and to try to lift them up. And that was, so to speak, they failed. Because only really Moses can do that. Moses is a tzaddik. So, sorry. Okay. So we said that the Torah's lessons are eternal. So from this, that it's spoken about in the Torah, this story, the spies that Moses sent, even though he sent them to examine the whole land of Israel, which means the whole spiritual emotions, and they didn't necessarily succeed, it's still a lesson for us. The main service we have in our life really is to examine our thought, speech, and action, because those are more external. They're easier to alter. If we're not doing or speaking good things, we could really stop. First is just to stop saying or doing those things. And in thought, we could change our thoughts for more healthy, positive thoughts, even though we can't take off the actual garment of thought. And that's what that's our service in life. That we know we desire things sometimes, and we switch ourselves, and that's in thought, speech, and action, to think, speak, or do something. The higher level, we said before, is the level of righteous people, that they actually work in their emotions. They amplify their emotions on a higher and higher level at all times, so to speak, to go to God. And not everyone can really do that, because it's in our heart. And we can't necessarily always control our heart. Nevertheless, when people are born, they make us take an oath, so to speak, that we will involve ourselves in this service, that we'll at least try to elevate our emotions, even not just our garments, the thought, speech, and action. So the transformation of these emotions, which is the conquering of the animal soul to holiness, to lifting it up to God, which we said is really only applicable to the most righteous people, and we can't really do it. Nevertheless, the Torah teaches us about it, that we try, even though that we know that it's not really in our ability. We think about this, and we realize that our body and our life and our emotions is this land, and we're the ones that are, so to speak, trying to elevate this. This was a lesson to us. That's why we read about it in the Torah. Even though we know they failed, these spies of Moses, we still have to look at our emotions and try to lift them as much as we can. So this, that we do have the command that we see in Joshua, that he did send spies only to Jericho, sent the thought, speech, and action, that we said it's garments. We could take them off, we could change them. Thought, even though thought is always there, we could switch our thoughts, we can work on it. And that's much easier than that service of emotions, which you said before, which is only true for the truly righteous that have the power to really flip their heart. And that's why thought, speech, and action, this service is more relevant than the service of the emotions, because it's more close to us and it's in our ability to at least work on it and change our thought, speech, and action. We could just take off a speech or an action. If we don't want to do it, we just stop. And that's why garments, so to speak, the garments we wear add beauty to us and add splendor in our life because they're higher than us. The thought, speech, and action, the things we think about and do and speak in Torah and mitzvot, are really from a high place and really have the ability to elevate our soul. They give us the ability to even be able to see the divine presence. And when we elevate our animal soul in the service of Torah and mitzvot, it really adds a lot of beauty and splendor to our soul, like for the garments of the Torah and mitzvot, just like physical garments add the beauty to us and the honor when we wear nice clothing. And so that's why Joshua sent spies to Jericho, which is the lock of the land of Israel. Through this service of turning away from evil, doing good in thought, speech, and action, that's the lock of Eretz Israel. When we start doing that service of elevating our thought, speech, and action, we can actually get closer to altering our emotions even and elevating our emotions, which is the, so to speak, conquering of the entire land of Israel. That's refining the entire land of Israel in ourselves to godliness. And then by elevating our emotions, we could even start to elevate our intellectual faculties, which are our wisdom, our understanding, and our knowledge. The wisdom is like the first idea, which is just kind of more general. Understanding, we bring it more into detail. And knowledge is when we really connected our intellect to our emotions and we feel our intellect. So we spoke about a few things, how Moses and Joshua both sent spies. Moses' spies went across the land. Joshua only went to Jericho, his spies. And that's why Jericho is considered thought, speech, and action. It's on a spiritual level. It's our garments of our soul. Because speech and action, we can take it off completely. If we don't like a speech or action, we can put on another one. And thought, even though it's consistent and constantly there with us, we could change our thoughts. And that's how we can get to the power of transforming our emotions. And Bezrat Hashem, may we be blessed with great health and good things. And God bless you all and have a great night. Thank you so much.